When the calendar showed the year 1933, the government of the United States criminalized the purchase of gold by its citizens. Not just buying or selling it, not even hoarding it. Simply owning gold became illegal. If you were caught with gold coins, bullion, or gold certificates after the government's deadline, you could face penalties equivalent to hundreds of thousands of dollars today, along with up to 10 years in prison. Overnight, the state forced Americans to surrender one of humanity's oldest stores of wealth. Because the government demanded it, citizens had no choice but to exchange their gold for paper dollars. Now imagine this: the money you trusted, the gold you had saved, the wealth passed down through generations, all suddenly declared illegal. This was not the act of a criminal syndicate. It was written into law by the highest levels of the state, and it permanently altered the course of the American financial system. To understand how something so unimaginable could happen, we must return to one of the darkest economic periods in American history, the Great Depression. By 1933, America was in ruins. 1 in 5 Americans was unemployed. Factories had shut down. Nearly all banks were collapsing. Citizens were losing everything they had. The banking system could no longer stand because depositors wanted their gold back. At the time, the dollar was tied to gold under the classical gold standard. In theory, dollars could be converted into gold at a fixed rate, $20.67 per ounce. As trust collapsed, people rushed to withdraw their gold. Reserves were drained. The collapse of the American financial system became inevitable. Then Franklin Delano Roosevelt entered the scene. When he took office in March 1933, the economy was in free fall and the financial system was on the brink of total collapse. What was needed was an idea bold enough and radical enough to stop it. That idea arrived in less than a month. On April 5, 1933, Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102. This order made it illegal for private citizens, except for limited exemptions, to own gold. Americans were given until the end of April to surrender their gold to the Federal Reserve or authorized banks. In exchange, they received paper money at the fixed rate of $20.67 per ounce. Officially, the government claimed this was necessary to stabilize the banking system, prevent gold hoarding, and allow the Federal Reserve to expand the money supply. In reality, it was one of the largest forced wealth transfers in modern history. Fearful of punishment, Americans lined up to hand over their gold. Coins, bars, even family heirlooms passed down through generations. Some resisted. They hid their gold in their homes, buried it, or melted it down. But most complied. The penalties were simply too severe. And this is where the real damage began. After seizing the gold, the government did not simply store it away. In January 1934, the Gold Reserve Act raised the official price of gold from $20.67 to $35 per ounce. The dollar was effectively devalued by nearly 40%. In simple terms, the government forced citizens to sell their gold at the old price, then immediately increased its value. Citizens handed over their gold. The government kept it and profited. This was not a mere policy adjustment. The government deliberately reset the rules of money. By confiscating gold and devaluing the dollar, the Roosevelt administration gained the power to expand the money supply far beyond what the gold standard had allowed. This enabled massive government spending, increased borrowing, and the launch of the New Deal programs, moves that ultimately stabilized the banks. For the government, this meant control. For ordinary Americans, it was legalized theft. Now, imagine this personally. Your family spends a lifetime saving. One morning the government declares those savings illegal, forces you to surrender them, and then immediately raises their value. Your wealth is gone. The government keeps everything, and there's nothing you can do. This was not a hypothetical. It happened to millions of Americans in 1933. Even at the time, these policies were controversial. Lawsuits reached the Supreme Court in what became known as the Gold Clause. Cases. Many contracts had required repayment in gold to protect against inflation. By confiscating gold and devaluing the dollar, the government effectively voided those contracts. Creditors sued, arguing that the government had ignored private agreements and seized property. In 1935, the Supreme Court upheld Roosevelt's actions by a single vote. That ruling set a chilling precedent. In times of inflation or crisis, the government could change the rules of money, ignore private contracts, and confiscate wealth in the name of national interest. And there was something even deeper at play. This decision was not just about saving banks. It was about abandoning the gold standard entirely. By separating gold from private ownership, Roosevelt severed the link between the public and hard money. The dollar no longer derived its value from gold, but from government decree. The financial system entered a new era. Trust in gold was replaced by trust in authority. So who benefited? First, the government. After revaluing gold, the value of Washington's reserves surged by millions of dollars. This gave Roosevelt the ability to fund New Deal programs, raise spending without immediately burdening taxpayers, expand public works, and stabilize the banking system. This was a masterstroke of financial engineering, and a serious blow to the principle of private property. Next came the banks. By funneling gold into Federal Reserve vaults, the government guaranteed the survival of the banking sector. Confidence was restored. Citizens were told this was done to save the economy. But ignoring reality was difficult. The government and banks were saved at the public's expense. Then there were the wealthy and the politically connected. Some moved their gold overseas before the order took effect. Others converted it into jewelry or collectibles exempt from confiscation. Ordinary citizens had no such options. They either complied or faced prison. In the end, wealth was forcibly transferred from the public to the state and the elite. And the losers, they were obvious. Millions of Americans who believed their savings were secure because they were backed by tangible gold saw that trust destroyed overnight. Their gold was seized and replaced with devalued paper dollars. Those who trusted the system the most lost the most. They learned a brutal lesson. The rules of money are never fixed. They can be rewritten with a single signature. Now fast forward to today. Why does this matter to you? Because the logic has not changed. When financial systems are threatened, governments will do whatever it takes to protect them, even if that means forcibly taking citizens' wealth. In 1933, it was gold. In 2008, it was taxpayer-funded bailouts for too-big-to-fail banks. In 2013, Cyprus seized money directly from bank accounts. In 2020, endless money printing inflated asset prices while wages lagged behind, silently erasing purchasing power. Inflation itself is a form of confiscation. No one may come to seize your gold today. But rising inflation achieves the same result. Your money buys less. Your labor is devalued. The system extracts wealth slowly and openly. This is modern confiscation, not through force, but through policy. The lesson of 1933 is clear. Never assume your wealth is untouchable. Never assume the rules cannot change. In a crisis, they always do. If the government once made gold illegal, what stops it from freezing digital accounts, tapping pension funds, or imposing new taxes on savers today? The precedent already exists. Only the form has changed. True wealth cannot be measured by numbers on a screen. Real financial freedom requires assets and knowledge beyond the reach of sudden political decisions, skills no government can rewrite, and tangible value that survives when paper promises collapse. With historical awareness, you are not caught off guard when the next emergency is declared. You recognize the pattern. When America seized its citizens' gold, it wasn't called theft. It was framed as patriotism, shared sacrifice. The system survived. The public paid the price. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but its warnings never change. If they were able to take it once, they can take it again. If you fail to understand how money and power truly work, you will always be the one left holding worthless paper when the rules change. So the next time a politician promises prosperity or a banker assures you your money is safe, remember 1933. The rules of finance are written by power, and those rules can turn against you overnight. Protect yourself, not with blind faith, but with knowledge, awareness, and a pursuit of real wealth. If this changed your perspective, subscribe. The answers are hidden in history.